Hello, all. I wanted to take this opportunity to go through an updated version of the 12 storytelling types. I've divided them up a little bit differently and positioned them a little bit differently, so I thought I would record this to offer to all of you so that you could continue to practice your own storytelling types and begin to expand and try on some other ones. So I'm going to screen share the storytelling types page and we'll go through it together. All right, so I have three different groups. There are the starting signs, the maintenance signs, and the closing signs. So the type 1 architect is a thinking sign. So they'll all be in each of the three groups. There are four different modalities: thinking, feeling, will, and moral. And so you'll see those repeat. So the architect, world building, tends to be a starting type. When you are interested in engaging in a conversation or you're speaking publicly, you really want to set the stage well and get things specific, really think through what's the environment. If you're using it as a maintenance type, you'll continue that detail throughout. And as a closing, it will be a well-built closing. So this building theme of the architect happens throughout. The tender is a starting type as well, but that is a feeling type, and that is a feeling for you. What ails thee? What do you need? So you can tell when someone's bothered by something, and that will inspire you to start a story or a conversation. That can maintain throughout the entire story, just so long as you're paying attention to the feelings. If they change in the listener, they will probably change through the story as well. And then the same thing at the end. The tender really wants to bring it home emotionally. If everyone in the room can be in tears, that's great, so long as it's authentic to the listeners. Now, the artist will go about it in a very different way. That's the will, and that is with the intention of creating something beautiful. I want to make a beautiful story, beautiful conversation, beautiful interaction. And so, sort of like the architect, in that it requires planning, but the idea is to really get into it and craft and really, really, beauty is the ultimate goal here. And it can be like fireworks. So you can start really grand, and then if you're using it as a maintenance type through the course of the story, you're just dazzling throughout, and then as a closing, you really want a bold end to the story, like a really gorgeous ending, like a wow, and everyone is clapping on their feet. And the fourth of the starting types is the reformer, which means that you have a very clear intention for starting this story, this speech, this conversation, whatever it is, and you want to bring about transformation. So that's your goal, and you start it that way, and you may hold on to that through the course of the whole thing. It's important to remain sincere. Keep in your lane, and keep your eye on the prize so that you can really make your point in the end if it's a closing type. So all four of those are starting types, but they could be your maintenance or closing type, or you could just have one that is all three. The idea being that we have a type that helps us start, we have a type that helps us get through the story, and a type that helps us bring it home and close it. So into the maintenance types, it's inverted. We start with the moral, and that's the essentialist. Spare, really keep it short and to the point, and make it important. If you're going to say something, make it important, or don't say anything at all. Follow the thumper rule. I guess that's don't say anything not nice, but so that will keep you going through the story. Just keep it spare. For some of you, that's a real motivator, the essentialist. Now, some of you want to start a story that way, and usually requires a pause and then trying to find out specifically what's the best beginning, and no more than that. Same thing with the closing. Let's just keep it simple. Don't need any drama, don't need tears, don't need standing ovation, just like get the point across. Now the hero, however, with the will is going to be sort of like the artist, but instead of it being beautiful things, it's action, 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 all the way through. Starting big, if it's your starting type. Heroes are really handy to have for maintenance because you can just keep things interesting and active and bold. And then big, um, almost going to lose everything if it's a closing type, almost at the edge of defeat, and then you turn it around right at the end. Henry V. So then you have the lover, who is just following their heart through the course of the story, just from beginning all the way to end. If it's a beginning type, it's different than the tender. The tender is interested in what ails thee. The lover is more interested in just love of the world. What's really moving me right now? And that can be a really great maintenance type to get you all the way through the story, just following your heart. And then in the end, there's a lot of trust in that. You're not really thinking through this, and closing can often require some thought. You just trust in your heart. It ends how it ends. And often it ends well if you're really locked into your heart that way. Now, a thinking maintenance type is the detective, curious. How is this going to work out? Following leads, ticking through each one. And, as a starting type, it's going to be similar with like, why do I want to tell this story? What's going to happen in this story? Pensive. And then the ending as well. We're going to solve this. Whatever the mystery was, we're going to solve it in the end as best we can. And then speaking of closing, the closing types. Once again, we begin with the thinking type, which is the connector, formerly known as the point. I like connector better because the idea is that you connect everything together, and usually yourself in the middle of it. The story is not about you, but you understand and bring everything together as it relates to you. It's part of your process. So you can also use that as a starting point. What's going on for me right now? And then begin to connect all the dots of what is going on for you. As a maintenance, same sort of thing, always connecting the little bits as you go so that at the end, the connector can then make it exceedingly relevant to all the different threads that were out there, pulling them all in together and using yourself as a vehicle to close it out, to reconcile all those threads. The romantic true love. Just keep thinking of true love. True love is all about the ending. The endings aren't always necessarily positive, but true love exists even when it's a tragedy. So big, just heart-wrenching endings to the romantic closing type. But you can start that way as well. Start into a true love story. It doesn't have to be specifically about two individuals. Just true love is this ideal love. And that notion of ideal love existing will keep you through the whole story. And the will is interested in closing. I'm going to close this story, this conversation, all of it. I set my intention. I'm ending it accordingly. It's like a contractor. When the house is built, the house is built. So starting type, a closer would begin the story with the end in mind. So really specific, like how is this going to end, and then start it that way. And then like a contractor, moving all the way through if it's a maintenance type so that the end is secured. A revealer is our final of the 12, the type 12 storyteller, which is out of the moral, which is in the end, we think it's going one particular way, but it's that sudden whoop. We were calling it before the destroyer, but it's not so much that. It's the revealer. The whole time it was actually this. It was actually the barber. It was actually, they were in love. It was actually this, whatever. So that doesn't have to be planned out, though. The revealer can tell the story in such a way that they themselves are amazed at the ending as well. But that's a great closer, and a good skill to have as a storyteller is the revealer closing, because you practice that enough, then you suddenly are able to enjoy the story as a novice while you're actually telling it. So you can be each of these 12 types, and you can use them all separately. Generally, what you want to do is start with the ones that are easier for you, practice those, and then begin to attract and practice other types as well. So, hope that helps. Reach out if you have any questions, and we will continue to be practicing these during our Listening Like a Storytelling sessions. Okay, until next time. And I've stopped recording, but I have Tracy Truth Teller here. Tracy, do you have, it's good to see you, by the way. Oh, your cats. Oh, your cats. Do you want to have a chat, or do you have a thing that you want to put in chat, or what would you like to do? How can I best serve you right now? Raise your hand if you want me to bring you forward. Or we can just blow kisses to each other. Okay, great. Oh, I'm recording again. I thought I stopped.